My thing with Eminem is he has two gears, sad and angry. I don't really feel any other emotions coming out of his music. And
that's amazing. That's amazing. I just want everyone to know who's listening to this show that this is not just a host. This is a poet laureate who is telling you the real. Like you're saying, if he was a stick shift, there wouldn't be a fifth gear. You talking he got first and second, and that's it. Well, okay, keep going. I just wanted to throw that out there. Keep going.
Thank you. Hip-hop veteran Juice said, I'm a poet. Fuck all you. Okay, now, Mikey, are we ready to talk to Juice?
Oh, yeah.
All right, cool. We're ready to talk to Juice. Thank God.
Hello.
Juice.
What up?
Hey, you're on SoBroRadio. How's it going, man?
Good. I'm very honored to have y'all reach out to me, man. Thank you very much.
No, man, it's no problem. I just want to comment how small of a world the internet has I just created, and that I can find a clip of two dudes rap battling in 1997, and I can Google some shit, and then here we are talking to each other. So I just want to say how cool it is to talk to a hip hop veteran.
Thank you.
I was reading up. Do you really have over 30 albums, or is some of that stuff mixtapes and EPs and stuff like that?
I mean, I tend to write an album every year, even if it doesn't come out, just to stay on par with everything that's out. But I never really contributed my services to the major label because they would have made different albums than I made. So my discography officially is probably 12, maybe 11 or 12 total releases. But in terms of like music that I make all the time or music that I write for other people, I have easily that much.
Okay, fair enough. So let's see. So first thing, I want to sort of gauge your musical taste with what's going on right now. I would say I'm going to ask right now. I mean, obviously, you do stuff for battle rap and you do stuff in studio. Who are some of your favorite guys in the studio making music right now?
Unfortunately, it's probably going to sound like a cliche, but I really like J. Cole. I really like Kendrick. I really like Drake a lot. I think he's a master of melody.
Yeah.
I know it's crazy, but I understand and like Future. I do. And in terms of like cats that are on the hip hop, like on the actual hip hop side, there's a kid from out here in LA named Blue. There's a dude from out here named Nipsey Hussle, Dom Kennedy. I like Joey Badass.
Right.
It don't stop. I like what's my man's name? I always forget his name. He's from New Orleans, but he's real dope. And I like Jay Electronica. I mean, yeah. I got a really varied musical taste.
How about just specifically, who are your favorite battle rappers right now? Specifically, just them.
I don't keep up on the scene like I should, but I do like a few cats. I like Loaded Lux.
Yeah.
I like Averb. I like Illmac. I mean, like some guys that are really dope. I still like Iron Solomon. I feel like he's crazy and underrated because he can really go off the head.
You like Daylight?
I like Daylight, but it not as much as the other guys, or I would have mentioned them. I think I saw what happened with him. Oh, and I like Disaster a lot too. I like Disaster a lot. Now that you mentioned Daylight, but I do like Disaster. Daylight's cool, but in terms of me like thinking of cats that I feel like will be legends later, like I think some of those dudes that I mentioned might be considered like legendary later.
I mentioned Daylight because he's probably my favorite guy, and anybody who I guess follows battle rap a lot is probably going to hate me for saying this, but I look for every Daylight. I look for every Daylight battle, and I skip everyone else's verse, and I just listen to Daylight's round.
Ooh,
yeah. People are going to get mad at me for that. I love this guy is like the punchline king. This guy he just. I don't know. I'm happy when I hear him say some funny shit. I get really happy, and he's on some Andy Kaufman shit where I
agree with that.
He's fucking around with everyone, and he's doing it in a way that I guess his respective battle rap community isn't really used to. You know, if this guy if this guy for whatever reason like vanishes, I feel like that's when people will start, I guess, appreciating the comedy of it. But real quick, and we'll touch up back on this in about 20 minutes, but who are your favorite under 25 people in hip-hop?
Oh, under 25. Damn, that's a tough question because I don't know a lot of young like upstart hip-hop cats that are coming up. Mostly, see, I've been out of the scene for a while because my career has taken a twist. I've been writing for a lot of artists, and they're a lot of young guys, but they're actually in the industry. So like, all right, so like there's a crew called Save Money, right? And Save Money consists of some of my favorite MCs, and it's not just because they're from Chicago, but literally like Vic Mensa, he would be one of my favorites. Chance would be one of my favorites. But these are dudes that I mentored growing up in Chicago, and I just think that they take what I do to the ultimate next level. There's a dude named Joey Purple, who's really crazy. There's a Kid Tokyo, and they got lyrics, but they're not exclusively focused on like the battle aspect. They're focused on the songwriting aspect, and that's why I think they'll have longer careers. So those are some of the young upstarts, the young guns that are like my favorites. But I don't got a lot of them, man. I don't got a lot of them. There's a new dude Kanye just signed named Valet. He's a dope little dude, but like I said, they got bars, but it's not like how you thinking. It's not like how they got bars in a different way. They got songs. So
well, I mean,
I got a few cats I fuck with.
The one thing I want to get to is addressing the myths of battle rap when it comes to freestyles versus off the dome versus, you know, a guy writing it beforehand. And I guess there's usually an assumption that all of battle rap is always off the dome. And what % of the time would you actually say it's legitimately off the dome? And I feel like people can sort of tell when it is and isn't, but what % of the time would you say someone is actually improvising?
It kind of depends on the rules. If the rules are to freestyle, then you should be freestyling 100% of the time. I got to take people at their word. Now, in the written battles, that's why I like cats like Disaster, because we call it ride now. He can ride out on some freestyle shit, say something about you that nobody ever heard, and make it sound amazing. But really, if the rules don't call for that, a lot of cats can't do it. That's a rare skill to be able to do that continually. So I'll just say, like, if there's a battle and it's supposed to be freestyle, then everybody should be freestyling. So it should be 100%. So I don't get into whether people are freestyling or not, or whether people can tell, because when I freestyle, people can't tell. So there has to be other human beings with that skill. So I can't think it's exclusive to me. Right. But I do know when I can tell a pattern is pre-written, or I can tell some shit is referring to a generalization instead of the specific person you're talking to.
Yeah.
I can always tell that.
So like, let's say if someone's like who better knew let it cool let it food, like if someone like throws off like 10 multis consecutively, is it immediately, do you just know it's written?
Not me. I could do this. I could be like, dude is smooth. This is a who's who, but you should move. I'm a dude. I could twist you like a Rubik's Cube. And every time I twist the Rubik's Cube, dude is smooth. I don't care what another dude's crew can do, but it's just about me. It's like you versus you. I could do this shit too. So I can't say that somebody else can't do it, but people who have lesser mind states, they'll automatically think that that's not real.
Well, I mean, put it this way.
Not something they can do.
So you were just doing double multis, but if a guy, I mean, what about, like, can you do quadruple multis off the spot? Because that's what I see sometimes, and guys will try to say that it's it's off the dome, but I personally don't believe it.
I could be like, I'll do a quadruple multi and then I'm on to victory, because everybody else talking is just contradictory. Because all y'all rappers, it just depends. You could be like, you could test me and dodge. I'm the best when I ride. I'm like espionage. I could test me abroad. I'm the best.
Right.
There's people who can do it. I can do it all day long. It just depends on, what the situation calls for. But usually, again, if people can't conceive it, they're not going to believe it. If your mind can't conceive of you doing that, you automatically think that somebody else is not credible.
That makes sense.
I don't do that, but I try to judge it on it. If somebody's saying something to me and they're rhyming and they use a couplet like that and it doesn't relate to me, I'll point it out. Right. I'll be like, that's cool, but you're not rapping about the moment. I'm right in front of you.
There was one thing in the clip, the 1997, when you defeated Eminem. You definitely see some guys, they're definitely, off the cuff. They're definitely improvising it, but sometimes they'll work in stuff that they had thought about beforehand. When you picked up the Budweiser bottle, or as a can, something like that, and you did an on the spot, I guess it was an acronym poem for Budweiser. You know, I can't even remember what the words were. That was all on the spot, or had you been thinking about that? You know, maybe like a month prior, and you're like, oh, I'll throw this in.
Oh, no. Eminem had the Budweiser in his hand while he was rapping, so I wouldn't have been able to premeditate it because he didn't have it in his hand the whole battle. So my response was immediately directed at him picking up a can of Budweiser and pointing it at me while he was rhyming. So it wasn't like it was there for anybody to see. Nobody saw it until he had it. And it was covered, actually, too. The whole shit was covered. So it was just about me saying some crazy-ass shit to him that he couldn't recover from. It wasn't about premeditation because I had no idea what he was going to drink. If he would have been had a Heineken, I don't know. Maybe I would have spelled out an acronym for Heineken. But on the spot, he had a Budweiser, and I was just like, you got a Budweiser beer? Bitch, I'm about to switch. Bitch, you do whatever I say every rip. And he didn't even get it. The crowd, the people didn't even get it. None of that mattered till years later because I don't always rap for the moment. I rap for people later who go, what the fuck was Juice really saying? I'm in the studio freestyling, right? I'm with this dude, and he passed the mic to me, and he was rhyming, and I think he made it rhyme with, I spit the dopest pictures. And I said, you spit the dopest pictures. I'm glad I'm rhyming with you. Every time you spit, it's like you quoting scriptures. I used to fuck with them drugs. I'm going to be open with you. I used to fuck with that Chris like Courtney's older sister. See, that's,
Right.
Yeah, everybody in the room was, but he knew that was based on the rhyme he gave me. So he knew that I didn't have that premeditated, but you know, there's a level of it. I'm at a level where people question it, and in a way it's a blessing, but in a way I feel like I keep having to prove it, which is great.
Obviously, there's practice and work that goes into this. Does one specifically have to always practice, you know, doing it off the dome, or does someone have to write so much that it eventually bleeds into the ability to do off the dome stuff?
That's a ridiculously good question. I'll answer it in reverse. If you write a lot, see, to me, the basis of my writing is my freestyle. So every time I freestyle, I open this little chamber where I got a bunch of thoughts I haven't accessed yet. And then when I write, I have no problem. I don't get writer's block because I always have shit in my head and I always have words that I never said before. So I'm just really lucky like that. But I guess if you write a lot and it bleeds into your freestyles, then they're not really freestyles because they come from your conscious mind. And to me, real freestyles come from your subconscious mind, like a place in your mind you've never been to, and that's where you get the words from. I get kids, they hit me up on Twitter, whatever, and they're like, do you have any advice for me freestyling? And I'm like, I really don't. I know kids that read the dictionary. I know kids that don't. If you really have it, you're going to have it. And I don't think that having the words pre-installed into your head doesn't make you a freestyler. It just makes you have a really good vocabulary. So I had a vocabulary already, and I'm trying to, it's like I throw a pass and I'm trying to see the ball caught, but I really don't want to have no pre-installed thought. Feel me? So I'm fast.
Right.
So it's another, you know what I mean? So that's how I feel. I feel like if you really have it, it's going to come out. It's not going to be because you can practice it. I don't really think you can practice what you're going to say to somebody in the moment. One
thing that I noticed that I analyzed, and we were talking about this about a month ago on the show, is and it was sort of, and I bring it up because a point we made was sort of illustrated with this you versus Eminem battle, and that we were talking about how the difference between white and black MCs, the black MCs usually they worry more about the content of the words as opposed to white MCs where it's all about, you know, and Eminem sort of, because Eminem got so big, it sort of trickled into all these other guys. So he's part of the reason it's like that. But it's with white MCs, you hear a lot of like, and, you know, like, but it gets to the point where you lose the content of the words and you lose the content thematically. Do you notice that yourself, that there's it's sort of become that stereotype between white and black MCs?
I mean, I hadn't thought of it, but I do have, I got generalizations. In my opinion, I feel like a cat like Eminem set the bar so high till the standard white rapper is technically more complex than the average black rapper, because where we come from in our neighborhoods, it's not required for us to have a vocabulary like that to make money or to get bitches or to get a record deal. That's not what's required. Some cats have it, but that's not a prerequisite. For a white MC, I feel like it's a prerequisite to be technically sound because they're always going to compare white MCs to Eminem. And so what I found is most of the white MCs that I met that are true MCs, not assholes who say they MC, but real true MCs, they have a level of natural skill, whether it's written or not, that's really, really, really above. And so that's just how I saw it. And Eminem typified that for me. To prove and illustrate that I didn't see a stereotype between the two, to me, one of the reasons I beat him was because I never thought of him as a white MC. I never thought, oh, I get to battle a white guy now. Let me pull this rhyme out because it was a freestyle contest, and I didn't have any premeditated rhymes about who the fuck I was going to be. So I didn't know he was going to be white, so I didn't have any rhymes about it, and I never thought of him as white. And even when I think of just people in general, I never think of them that way. I know the industry does, though, and I know that even if I would have beat Eminem, I never would have been as famous as him because he's a white MC. There's 300 million white people in our country and 30 million blacks, and he represents the overwhelming population of the country. So I wouldn't have looked like your mom or your daughter or your dad or your brother, no matter how famous I got. And I'll even venture to say that other than maybe 50 Cent or Tupac or dead rappers, there has been a rapper black as famous as him.
Well, first off, I want to get a quick answer with this. Do you feel that hip-hop music should be all concentrated on just bars, 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 or do you feel that there also needs to be an artistic element, both in instrumental and in presentation?
I think that the shit that Lil Uzi do and the shit that Chief Keef do, I think that's hip-hop, but I think it's really rap music. It's rap music, and I think that people don't draw the separation between that. Hip-hop people are mad at those dudes on the radio because they feel like they take more time with their craft and they try harder to be lyrical. But if you walk in the club, ain't nobody playing Loaded Lux. You walk in the club, ain't nobody playing Daylight because they don't make the kind of music. They have chosen to make music that has a limit to it. Has a limit to how many people like it. It has a limit to how many bitches are going to listen. Has a limit to your ending result financially. So if you choose that and nobody made you choose that, then you can't get mad at somebody whether you think they're skilled or not. The radio never said in order to get on us, you got to be skilled. It's the radio.
Right.
That's not what the radio is about. So those two are juxtaposed to each other. So I feel like I don't even know if that, I mean, I'm not saying that rap music isn't hip-hop, but rap music to me is a genre that spawned from hip-hop.
I've always understood rap is not necessarily a genre, but a style of vocal delivery. So there's singing and then there's rapping. And then I thought that hip-hop itself is the genre. Are you saying that rap is just its own genre? Because I've always understood it a little differently.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it morphed from hip-hop. Hip-hop about one thing. It was a conscious thing to uplift black people. That's why we invented it, because every time we try to do some shit, they try to thwart it. So we want equal justice. They fucking shoot motherfuckers and hang motherfuckers from trees.
Yeah.
I want to drink from the same water fountain as you. They tell me I can't. So they created rap to consciously uplift people. It wasn't for shit else. And that was what was on the radio. So that was hip-hop. But it was also for marketing purposes called rap music, which is to me just rhythmic American poetry, right? So then after that, after all of these hip hop dudes and rappers started making money, labels didn't want to pay all of these brothers all of this money. So they began to dumb down the rap. They made different prerequisites for it. So then once it got stupid, that same artist that used to sell, they were like, look, your music isn't selling, so now we can't fucking give you all the money you want. And then they decided to market the stupid part of rap to people. So rap wasn't a genre that hip-hop necessarily even created. It was done at the corporate levels. So now that shit is the case, there's a separation. And hip-hoppers who are mad at rappers who are getting all this money and going on tour don't even know how it happened. They just know, that ain't right. I'm really good at this, and I should be getting paid for it. But they don't know that this shit was administrated before them. So I see the genre as the genre that spawned off hip-hop, but it isn't something that hip-hop motherfuckers did or sanctioned. It's something that corporations told young black men, if you want to get out of the fucking ghetto, you got to rap like this. Trust me, if Lil Uzi Vert tried to rap like me, he could not get a record deal.
Just give me a quick yes or no on this. Do you believe that guys like an Uzi Vert, Kodak Black, do you feel that the skill level is lower?
I think they rap like that because they're told to. We don't know if their skill level is lower. If they tried to rap like me, so I can't give you a yes or no. You can't. Well, it doesn't work.
Lil Uzi went on, and again, this is a guy whose reputation, nobody thinks he's lyrical, nobody thinks anything. But, I see these guys on the XXL freshman classes, and and Uzi did an off the dome freestyle that was incredible. That was really good. And, obviously, completely a cappella, swinging off multis like that, coming up with great, wordplay on the spot, all that stuff. I feel like people sort of throw these guys in as far as older rappers, I feel like they kind of just write these guys off a little bit because they're young, and I feel like other people who really, really like Eminem or whatever, I feel like they write these guys off simply because they're culturally different from them.
Well, I think that echoed the point that I was saying, is that he raps that way because that's how he's told to rap to make money. That doesn't mean he doesn't know about hip-hop. That doesn't mean he can't spit. So for me to say that their skill level is lower, I couldn't say it because I've been around a lot of those dudes and they're crazy. Like, I've been around Lil Wayne, and when you're around Lil Wayne, it's like listening to a ghetto version of myself. He just fucking spews words, and he does it all of the time. But when it's time for him to make hit records, he's not on that shit.
Yeah, no, I noticed that on every feature I've noticed with Lil Wayne, he's gotten a lot more melodic, like an Uzi or an A Boogie or I have my take, but what these guys are doing as far as not lyrically, but musically and presentation wise, would you say it's overall still good? Would you say it's still something that's going to advance, I guess, the genre?
No, I wouldn't say that it will advance the genre. I'll only say that, and I won't say it's bad because that's subjective. I will say that 20 years from now, we have to see. I don't think people will be listening to a bunch of this shit because it doesn't hit all sensibilities with like being pleasant. Everybody doesn't find it pleasant. So I can't see a radio station devoted to playing a lot of this shit 20 years later. But I will say that people tell me that the times define the music. And so when you check back historically, it will be music that had a proper place for its time, for sure. But I don't know if it's going to be music that they're going to devote an oldie station to. Like, we got Lil Vert from 2017. I don't think so. Well, but I understand its place in our culture. I get it.
Well, I mean, what's a genre? What's a musical genre? Or what's all eras are sort of the same with that, where they eventually get oldie stations, they eventually get retro, whatever, and it's always going to be the same thing. As like someone could tell me that Elvis is timeless music or something like that. I could go listen to Elvis. I'm like, this is boring. I don't like this at all. I don't know how much weight we can put into the whole this will stand the test of time until the test of time has come. You know what I mean?
That's deep. Yeah, I get it.
I see something special in guys like Kodak Black. I see something special in these young guys. But I think that the tragedy is that a lot of the old guys, they don't want to hear it because he doesn't do something lyrically, and the young kids who like him, they don't really think about music that much. Like they don't think about the lyrics of their music. But I mean, Kodak Black, he has some amusing lines. He has some enjoyable lines. Uzi Vert, he's an interesting artist in that this guy has taken, this hard hip hop sort of Chief Keef thing, and he sort of mixed it with like Marilyn Manson and Gigi Allen and like all this stuff. And it's like, he's created something new. Who knows if this guy is the inspiration for the next, the next Drake in 15 years or whoever it's going to be. That's my thing with these guys. And I never see this point. The only argument I ever see for the young guys made, whether it be on Vlad TV, whether it be on Breakfast Club or whatever, is, oh, it's just party music. Let the kids have their fun. But, I feel that, these guys got some deep shit with them. These guys have some heavy artistic shit that has yet to fully develop into something because they're so young. I get mad when people, like the phrase mumble rap. Kodak Black gets called a mumble rapper. And I'm just like, I mean, this is a very light theory, and this might be like a very hot take. But when a white person says mumble rap, it feels a little bit like they're saying the N-word, just to me, And so I don't know. It's I mean, what's your take on that? Do you feel that some of the young artists, some of the Southern artists, specifically Southern artists, I see with Southern artists, do you feel that there's sort of a demonization of them?
Wow. I mean, it's so funny where this is like this is a polarizing point, because I think you say when white kids say it makes you feel that way, but black kids who are hip hop are just as staunch and strict as a white hip hop kid, and they say the same shit. They don't fucking like it for whatever reason. But what I will say about it is, honestly, those dudes just rap like they talk. If you ever talk to one of them dudes, unless he like is an extra educated dude like Clyde, who got like a PhD in fucking language arts or whatever.
Right, yeah.
There's a way that Southern people talk. They talk like this, you know what I'm saying? That's how they talk. So they're gonna rap the same way, you know what I mean? Like, they're gonna come from where they is inside, you know what I mean? It ain't gonna be nothing different. That's where they is. So you just gotta be, if you ain't from that, I guess you would call it that, but you couldn't really go to Atlanta and say that motherfuckers was mumbling to their face, right. You know, because they'd be like, this our culture, man. What you mean we mumbling? This our culture, man. Who the fuck are you to, even a black person, they be like, who the fuck are you to talk about my culture? So I get what people are saying, but some of them dudes got some shit to say, like that All My Friends Are Dead song, about that shit crazy. It's a crazy record. That's a crazy record. It ain't hip-hop. It ain't bars. It ain't going to be on fucking YouTube, but I guarantee you he saw 150,000 off that shit, and a lot of people's friends are dead. So, like, I don't know. Is that whack? I guess it's subjective. I like it, but I understand hip-hop purists that don't like the music. I don't think they should like it. But that's just not how I feel about it. I understand its place in history, you know?
This is another thing. You just brought it up. The concept of a dude coming from a very hard neighborhood, or a dude who has come from witnessing murder or being around drug dealing or whatever. There's varying guys, you know, an artist like Sci-Hi would be very different from an artist like, you know, a Kodak Black. I see a lot of people saying, I don't like rappers who talk about violence and drug dealing. This is something that, and this isn't just hip hop, this is all of entertainment. Adversity creates interesting art. As America or whatever, should we be telling these guys, hey, you can't talk about this? Or should these guys still be talking about it to, I guess, illustrate the problems that, you know, still exist in America?
I mean, you can only, again, I feel like the times define the music.
Okay.
And I feel like they, again, are just speaking what they know. You know, Eminem had songs about killing his mother. And nobody told him to stop talking about that shit. He could talk about whatever he wants. In the black community, your mother is your father. So that's, you're talking about your parents. So that's why nobody's ever told him he can't do that. The same people who tell him they can't talk about drug dealing and violence and shit, they don't tell Eminem to stop talking about that shit and fucking animals and raping bitches. They don't tell him to do that shit. So you got to hold people to the same standard. Those same people, those same staunch critics hold people to different standards. Doesn't mean it's because they're black. It just means that they don't do it for Eminem, but they always do it for these dudes who come from it for real. Eminem's never really killed his mom. He never really raped a monkey. He just raps about it. So they would rather a cartoon polarization caricature of the truth than some motherfuckers spitting their truth, which is exactly what hip hop was when it started. It was each individual man's truth. So if it's my truth and what I've been through, is anybody authorized to tell me not to tell people this?
Well, what's your answer to that?
The answer is self-evident. If I'm really spitting my truth, if I'm a battle rapper and I spit them bars, that's why people like me. Because when I was spitting them motherfucking bars, I was doing that to people for real. So they appreciated my truth. They couldn't tell me, why does he always fucking rap about how dope he is? Because he wins all the time. That's why. So if a motherfucker, if Jay-Z fucking sold heroin to get where he's at, and he dropped $40,000 on Irv Gotti's desk to play his first single, and he raps about that, then who the fuck can tell him not to? It's his truth. Now, when we start getting into motherfuckers who are being fake and rapping about shit they haven't done, that's another story.
Yeah, that's bad news.
Nobody's truth is subject to anybody else judging it. Because you have a really cool option that they created, and it's called the off switch.
Okay.
If you don't like it, you don't gotta listen to it.
So, last thing, Eminem, the elephant in the room. Now, me personally, I'm what I call an Eminem realist, not an Eminem hater. And a hater is someone who is, oh, this guy has never done anything. This guy is worth no talent whatsoever. That's a hater. I'm an Eminem realist in that, I could admit that he's talented with a pen. He knows something about writing songs. If he didn't, he wouldn't have had all this stuff. But let me start with this, maybe a bit of a loaded question. Do you feel that Eminem's success is a product of Dr. Dre's mind?
Yes.
To an extent, I would agree. This is my thing with and I want to get your comments on this. Eminem's whole now all my issues that I have with Eminem's fan base is, how do I put this? And again, a lot of this largely isn't really his fault, but there's sort of this cult surrounding Eminem. There is this universe, and mostly white people, let's call it like it is. But there's this sort of thing where you can never say a single bad thing about Eminem. You can never say Eminem has done anything whack ever. You can never say Eminem is corny. But, or these people will jump down your throat. Have you also noticed the same thing? Because you're a guy who is just, out there. He's like, fuck Eminem. I'll beat his ass again. All this shit. Do you get guys jumping down your throat? Do you get guys yelling at you for shit like this?
Well, it's crazy. I feel like, when you start, I don't feel he has the best content because he doesn't appeal for all situations with his music. It's right. Like you have to be in the Eminem mood. Everyone does, I believe. Even his fans have to be in the mood to hear Eminem constantly, like all day. But I will say, from what I've heard lyrically, and I know you don't agree, and I love you for this, but I haven't ever heard anyone make the things rhyme that he has ever since then. And he was at his peak about 18 years ago. A lot of the new music, I don't fuck with it because I feel like it's a different flow, and I don't even know what's wrong with him now. But in terms of like when he was great, I never heard anyone make one Excedrin tablet from a full medicine cabinet. I feel like my head has been shredded like lettuce and cabbage. Like, that's some other shit. That's the reason there's smack battles and URL battles now. It's because of that. He was able to do that to a beat. And those dudes can't, they can, but they choose not to. So I feel like some of the shit he was saying to a beat will never, ever, ever be duplicated by anyone. Now, in terms of the question, I'm just a better MC than him. People don't usually, they usually don't give me hell because I don't say he's whack. He's just not as good at what that genre is as me. He's not as good as me. When we did battle, he used written rhymes that ended up on his album. That shows you how shook he was from just my freestyle. Now, mind you, I never get a chance to go to my pen game, but it's insane. Every membrane, I swear, I turn 2 chains 8 and give them 10 chains. I have it.
Right,
so
right.
So when I tell motherfuckers I'll do it, they know I'll do it to him. He knows. But in terms of him being the top lyricist, I don't know. And now I get to interview you because you got to tell me, like, 3 people who are more lyrical than that. In that way, I don't care what they're talking about, so we can further this discussion. Like, if he's not the best, who's the best?
I remember Lord Jamar, a brand Nubian. He was in a room with I think it was with a star from the Star and Buck Wild show. They asked him, who is the king of hip hop? And the guy next to Lord Jamar said Eminem. And Lord Jamar was furious. He was so fucking angry about that. And to an extent, he was like, a lot of his points were, is Eminem one of the best at, moving words together and making them rhyme and, multi-syllable stuff, all that. Yeah, he's really good at that. But Lord Jamar's point was there is far more to hip-hop than just that. Far more to hip-hop than fast flow, far more to hip-hop than, all the rap gods. So he was saying there was far more to that. And that I agreed with, where Eminem, he can do the, head cabbage, whatever the hell shit. But he can do all that, and he's really good at that. But the thing is that, like, I listen to Kodak Black songs, there are lines that I'm like, that I really feel with Kodak Black, where I'm like, that's some strong shit. I like that shit. That, he really stuck it to the fucking man there. Now, I don't listen to a ton of Eminem music, but I feel that, and I'm not saying that Eminem is incapable of doing this, but when you get into the super hyper robo flow, you sort of lose the opportunity to really punch that stuff home for the average listener. You know,
You do.
You know, so it's like, you know, when I hear what one of Kodak's lines, State tried to give me 8, I told him you do that shit. Like that's funny. That's endearing to me. And I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, you tell him, Kodak. You know, my thing with Eminem is he has 2 gears, sad and angry. I don't really feel any other emotions coming out of his music. And
that's amazing. That's amazing. I just want everyone to know who's listening to this show that this is not just a host. This is a poet laureate who is telling you the real. Like you're saying, if he was a stick shift, there wouldn't be a 5th gear. You talking he got 1st and 2nd, and that's it. Well, okay, keep going. I just wanted to throw that out there. Keep going.
Thank you. Hip hop veteran Jew said, "I'm a poet. Fuck all you." Okay, now. Again, you know, I mean, you said there's the majority of America is white, and so I hear a lot. Like, let me play some clips for you. What I was looking up, and I've seen all this stuff for years. Hopefully, this stuff gets through. I don't know if Skype's going to actually transmit it to a phone, but I look up, you know, people on YouTube. They make rants, right? They make rants talking about things they don't like, and I have found multiple hip hop and rap sucks rants. And in every single one of these things where it's a white guy, they say, but Eminem's good. I like him, though. Every single time. And so, for me, it gets to a point where the Eminem cult feels like white supremacy. It feels like, fuck all these black people. I only like Eminem because he's a nice white man. That's what it's felt like for me for years. There's dudes who have, like, you know, good shit to offer, and they don't get that opportunity because of the place that they come from. That sort of always pissed me off with it. Like let me play this. Like, here's this guy with like a million. This guy looks like a human pincushion. He has like a million piercings in his face.
Fucking rappers, you guys suck. Suck a dick. Fucking faggots. Not Slim Shady.
Every time. Did you hear that?
I did.
Yeah, fucking rappers suck. But not Slim Shady. He's really good. And then here's this guy named Big Al Rants. This guy looks like he's about 400 pounds. Let's play this one.
However, there are a few exceptions, okay? First off, I like Eminem.
Right there. And the title of this video is Crappy Music and the People Who Listen to It. And part 2 is about hip-hop. So, you know. But again, this is the thing, is it bends into this fucking... it bends into this whole fucking... You know, at what point, you know, and that's what it is for me, is like every white guy I talk to, they're like, fuck hip hop except for Eminem. And I'm like, huh, why is that? Why do you only like Eminem? You know, so.
Well, I think, now remember, this goes back to my point when I told you earlier in the interview that if I had beaten Eminem, I still wouldn't be famous. It's famous as him because he represents the overwhelming consortium of people that make up the country.
Yeah.
So now maybe those dudes didn't use the N-word. They didn't say black people should go back to the country that doesn't accept them because now we're impure. They didn't say that. All they said was, fuck hip-hop, I like Eminem. It's the same way a policeman feels when he pulls over somebody that looks like him, and the reason he don't shoot, because that dude looks like his brother. That dude reminds him of his dad. So Eminem reminds them of their not having a voice and the ability to express it. So they love him. They don't get Kodak Black. They don't know why Kevin Gaye got 4 phones. They have no idea. That doesn't relate to them. So all they're saying is they're not expounding articulately, but they are saying, we fuck with him because we relate to him. The same way I told you that they would if I had beaten him, I still wouldn't be what he is. He could have came in 2nd place on American Idol and still had the career that I wouldn't have had. It wouldn't matter. So people go, oh my God, Juice, what does it feel like to watch Eminem do that after you beat him? And here you are stealing food from a fish shack. Oh my God, you know. And I'm like, no. It's not tragic. It means that what would have happened, what was supposed to happen, happened. In fact, I knew it was going to happen. That's why I brought him to L.A. to meet Sway. And that's why me and my boy gave his tape to Justin, the producer who gave it to Jimmy and Dre. We did that because I already knew he had something I didn't have. So it's all good. I feel it's cool, man, but it was an incredible point that you made. But those guys just relate to him.
You're saying that you're the reason Eminem had the hookup with Dr.
Dre? I didn't say that.
Okay.
I didn't say that. I said I brought him to L.A. for the Rap Olympics, which is a fact. I brought him to the Wake Up Show, which is a fact, and me and my boy Cassidy gave his tape to the producer, Justin, who was working at Interscope, who gave it to Jimmy and Dre. That's all I said. I didn't say I was the reason for shit. These are facts. Now, if you think that I'm the reason that he got famous, cool. I clearly remember Dr. Dre calling Sway when me and Eminem were on it and was like, yo, I want to talk to that dude. But Dr. Dre didn't know that was the same tape that me and my boy Cassidy had already given to Justin. So he wanted to talk to Eminem for what he saw live, and I think Eminem's EP, I think Infinite, I think it just enforced that. Like, oh, shit, I already had this dude's tape. I'm not going to miss him. Jimmy, you got this shit too. Let's not miss it. So I definitely did that, but I'm not the reason. He's the reason. I was a vessel, and I've done that for a lot of artists from a lot of different places. He's not the only one, because if I feel like an artist has something to offer, I'm going to try to get it there. I mean, when people talk to Chameleonaire, they'll tell them the same thing. So it's just a lot of people that I got some good relationships, man. But that's definitely me right there. I was there.
Fair enough. Okay. I'll roll us down here with I'll just get on some petty shit now. This is I think my main I think the reason where I even feel the inclination to call M overrated is that it's not just that he's white rapper who is the beneficiary of certain things that we already discussed, but do guys I mean you're kind of tightly wound in hip hop. Is the consensus that this guy is corny?
Damn, I don't think so.
Because that upsets me if people don't call this guy corny.
I know it does, but see, he's from, dude, since this shit is about your truth, no matter what he raps about, he's from a fucking ghetto. He's from 7 Mile, man. That shit is ghetto.
But I know guys, but there are other guys who came from ghettos that do not take themselves as seriously as this guy.
No, I know that. But remember, he was going to have to rap on a different platform if he wasn't just going to be third base or some shit. If he wasn't just going to be MC Search, he was going to have a different platform. Like, he could have been the lyrical guy who got in battles and sold 400,000 records and didn't have no hooks. But again, this is why I told you I felt he was a product of Dr. Dre's mind, because they had the machine behind him. And the machine was not going to let him go on and be the Wake Up Show fucking featured artist every Saturday. They were going to make him Mr. Howard Stern to a beat, the Mr. Shock Rap, striking in the same place 12 times. This is why he's a product of them, because before that, he didn't have the hooks. He had the stories, he had the bars. He didn't have the cohesiveness of music that they had at Interscope. They had a machine there. So that's why it's like, it's almost like he had to sell out. Now that I really think about it, and him being a friend of mine, it's almost like he had to sell out, because if he had refused to do what they wanted, he would never have been famous, because none of his other shit was going to impact like that. There was no internet shit, so you couldn't SoundCloud, you couldn't YouTube, Napster was too slow. Like, there would have been no platform for him to do that shit, and then black people who are the aficionados of who's official in hip-hop would have shit on him and acted like he was just trying to be some other black dude. So he had to get out of there fast, and the case angled, and he turned into a rapper for a few years.
One thing I want to touch on, you said that you're currently friends with Eminem?
Well, I'm not friends with him anymore, because the last time I tried to see him some years ago, he had like CIA security, and it was some crazy shit. All we wanted to do was play a game of pool in Royal Oak, my lady and I, with him, and I guess we didn't pass some security clearance or some shit. So it's very difficult to be friends with him now, because he's stratospheric. He's a stratospheric level star. But I consider him a friend of mine. Like, if I see him and he's in the same room with me, he's not going to let security make me leave and no shit like that.
I mean, has he ever seen, or I guess, I don't know if a guy like him is even like checking Twitter. I was gonna ask if he had ever seen you publicly saying, "Yeah, I'll beat that motherfucker again," and then he's like, "Hey, man, that's not nice."
Well, no, he has done that, because his people reached out to me for a rematch battle for a very large sum of money, And I agreed to do it, but at the time I had a legal situation, and I ended up having to go to jail for some shit I didn't do for almost a year. And when I came back, I didn't pursue it, and it wasn't on the table. But people always ask me about that because they don't know what my current life is. So I just let them know that even though my current life isn't that, I'm way better than I was when he was his best, and he don't want no smoke. But if he do it and they got the money, we can do it.
What year was the reach out?
2016.
Oh, this is 20. Oh, this is okay. All right. Yeah, I thought it'd be like 2005 or something.
No. I think because a lot of people have been saying, I think there's a lot of pressure on his camp because a lot of his lyrics sound different than they used to, and I think that's why he's visible, and that's why I think he's on BET trying to show and assert that he still has that dominance that he had back in the day. So I think one of the components of that was, well, fuck, we can just go back and beat Juice. But once you really start listening to me online, you realize that's not going to happen. At least not for him. There's probably some rappers that can do it. I just haven't met one.
Right.
So he's definitely not going to be the one. So I think that his people, everybody knows this was his people reached out to me. My boy John Monopoly was working with Eminem's people. John Monopoly reached out to me and called me and told me. Yeah, he's the dude in Chicago. He used to have this shit called hustle, and when you hustle, you get a monopoly. So he was the dude, and then he ended up putting a lot of like big producers on with Bad Boy and shit. So John, they call him John in Chicago. He stayed connected. He's actually doing a Love and Hip Hop Chicago show right now, and he's casting for that shit now. So that's my man. Like, we go back even before that Eminem battle. We go back to the early '90s. So he reached out.
Love and Hip Hop?
Probably not, because I'm in LA now, and I'm not going back to Chicago for $4,000 an episode. I'm good, man. I'll be out here getting money. I'd be rather doing that than have somebody making me slap my wife again. I slap people enough as it is.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no.
He said okay.
Getting back to the king of hip hop statement, there's lots of debate of what is hip hop. You know, if you're like KRS-One, that definition can get very loose. Because I don't know if you've ever heard, KRS-One believes that hip hop is the life force that started life, or something to the effect of that. And, you know, I assume KRS is a spiritual guy, so that's good. You know, he's got to keep himself going. But the thing I want to get to is, do you feel that if Eminem is a guy who's talked about hitting women, stuff like that, are things like that, is hip hop just honesty, or does hip hop need to follow a certain set of values? Wow,
that's a morality question. You haven't done that yet. Man, you blew my mind. You're ridiculous at what you do, by the way.
Thank you.
Wow. I just think the core value. Honestly, I just think if you ask Curtis Blow, who didn't know that there would ever be an Eminem and only knew that one-syllable rhymes were going to run it, and you asked him, what should the core values of hip-hop be, I think he would just say, staying true to you. Right. And I would think he would say it would be authenticity. And if you're authentic, then no one can be against it, because that's really who you are. But I guess all this sub stuff came in with having to be lyrical. There was no real lyrical. There was witty guys, but they weren't lyrical. They were witty. LL was witty. Slick Rick was lyrical. He was a lyrical, witty guy. But there weren't, and Craig G, so no, they were lyrical guys. I would think that Melly Mel and all those dudes would say, just be true to you, man. Because 50 Cent, he's never been lyrical, but he got flows out this motherfucking world, and he got hooks like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and he's fucking crazy. But you wouldn't necessarily consider him one of the greatest lyricists of all time, but that doesn't mean that he's not authentic. That's his truth. And Eminem is a little different. See, Eminem is more of a caricature of life. You don't really get into his life when he raps. And I think a lot of people who look for depth in hip-hop discredit Eminem because of the lack of what they perceive to be depth. But really, it's just a real depressed guy trying to make the most out of a situation that he thinks is fucked. So that's why he does that, but you really don't know anything about him. If there were no interviews and shit, you wouldn't know shit. You wouldn't know nothing. So I just think it's being authentic, man.
Okay. I mean, did you hear, this will make sense in a second, did you hear Jay-Z's 444 album?
I did.
Okay, so sometimes people get mad at me. I think that's his like second best album ever, because I feel that it sort of solidified, you know, just fucking what real hip hop shit is. In that whole album, or I mean, not the whole album, you know, it was about a bunch of stuff, but one of the core values of that album was this guy. It was an album about, in spite of what other people try to do, in spite of what obstacles, you know, whether systematically or culturally are in front of you, you still must achieve the goal of generational wealth. You must, you know, set out to make your family the royal family. Fucking, that's the hardest album I've heard in like 10 years. Just the fact that, you know, this guy, you know, he has, do you remember, what is it? Do you remember the song, Marcy Me?
Yeah.
The incredible thing about, Marcy Me is, and it's in like the first verse where this guy is, you know, he's aware that everyone knows he's rich. He's aware everyone knows that he's sold all these albums, and he gets into the shit where, you know, he's talking about, cooking coke in the kitchen, Rodman Pistons, all that. You know, he's talking about, and then he goes into the shit where he starts quoting Shakespeare. And he's talking about all this, and then he goes back to, Marcy Projects, Boys That Bad the Thousands, all that. And it's like, just that whole stretch is so incredible because he is able to say, you know, he's like the Kung Fu master. He's the Kung Fu master who has done all the trials of the world. He has learned from his community. He has learned from the European community. He has learned from all these communities. And this 444 is the product of mastery. You know, this is the product of, he has achieved generational wealth. He has become the royal family. This dude, and by dropping in Shakespeare, he shows you, you know, I have mastered everything. I have achieved on all fronts. And that's why I get money. That's why I'm rich. That's why I'm successful. And so for me, it becomes the core hip hop, you know, I don't know. It sort of feels like, you know, and again, everybody's got to have difference of opinion, of course. But while it is, you know, being real, while it is being true, I also feel that to an extent, you can't necessarily be on some hating shit because someone else has achieved success through just, you know, their own means. And so like with hip hop, when people talk shit on second generation wealth, I sort of get that, you know, because it's like, yeah, hey man, you know, your dad's like, you know, a billionaire, and it's like, you know, what the fuck are you know, I get shit like that. But it's I've recently, and again, this is sort of my last point with Eminem and why, you know, some of his stuff I leave my head scratching, because now we're gonna get weird. I've recently had an obsession with the 2000 VMAs, and I don't know if you, I don't even know if you remember watching those. It was 18 years ago, but
I don't.
But well, I mean, he had his song with I think it was Real Slim Shady. He was dropping lines about Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears, and he was like,
I remember that.
Yeah, he was like, oh, they suck dick, fuck them. And at first I thought Eminem was like 22 when he made that song, right? And it's like, you know, dudes are young. I realized that Eminem was like 20. He was pushing 30. He was pushing 30 when he made that song, when he was starting to fight with two teenage girls who are just singing songs. And he's like, you girls fucking suck dick, fuck you. And I'm just like, you know, it's just shit like that. I'm like, why you gotta, you know, it's like, they're also achieving generational wealth for their family. You know, their first generation, they also come from broken households, you know, and it's, people have said that Gucci Mane's the boogeyman of hip hop. Eminem sort of, you know, he sort of gave me that vibe when he's like, you know, fuck these two teenage girls. It just feels kind of, I don't know. That's why I use the word corny, because it's like, you know, how are you gonna hate two little teenage girls? It's really fun.
No, that's deep. When you think about it, when you think about the fact that he did that to them in multiple songs, he got another song when he says, I stick Britney Spears in a room full of mirrors till she gets 50 years of bad luck. Called the terror to Christina Aguilera when I take her by the hair and drag her through the Sahara. He was shitting on them bitches, Fred Durst, everyone. But no one persecuted them like they did Kanye when he did that to Taylor Swift.
Exactly.
So, no, I know, but I get that. But I guess again, in a way, he had to sell out though, bro, because he had to be more shocking each fucking album, and that takes a toll on you when you can't just rap. Like, you have to have that subject matter all the time, and now there's executives in a room. See, Eminem, he's a regular guy. He don't like executives. He don't like fancy clothes. He don't like that. He like pickup trucks and Nike jogging suits. So that whole shit with having people kind of tell him what direction to go in, that's why he fucking snapped. And that's why when he went in his own direction, he was already a cult hero, but the sales didn't show. But that's probably more who he was.
The other point about the Kanye West Taylor Swift thing, Taylor Swift is second generation wealth, so that's another reason I fully give Kanye credit to go ahead and fuck around with her. But you know,
you're crazy. Hey, we got to do a podcast together where we get to hash out issues. It can be kind of fun.
Oh, hell yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, man. I'm trying to get on a podcast. I'm just running this show. I fucking hate it. Anyway. So anyway, that's MC Juice, hip-hop veteran, hip-hop legend. We went over a lot. We went over old rappers, new rappers, freestyles, Eminem and white supremacy. Anyway, you can get Juice's music at Juice10 on Bandcamp, Juice10 on Bandcamp. How many albums you got on Bandcamp?
I probably got like 8 projects on there, all full length, and I can't believe people still support it. And there's new music coming. I'm working on kind of shaping the industry from the inside out, because if these new kids want to write and think they want to be Jay-Z, they got to understand how to really structure a song. And I'm just glad that a lot of my friends in the industry are allowing me to use my pen in that way. And then slowly but surely, I'll drop something that'll hopefully be impactful, and I hope everybody supports it. In the meantime, don't think you might not hear a podcast with us on it soon.
All right, yeah. Stay tuned for the Max and Juice podcast. All right. Juice, thank you for calling in. Thank you for taking the time. We'll see you later. We'll be in touch.
Cool. We'll call the show to the max. Peace.